Yeah, but
Um,
still, we're really sticking a phone in your face is gonna be the new norm.
hey, I wouldn't laugh about that actually.
Welcome to episode 92 of the Lazy Cast Podcast. It's the podcast that gives you everything you need to know in the world of tech. My name is Calvin Lee, recording in the Zetlands of South Sydney, and this episode is probably going to make you sick.
My name is Jeff Kim, coming to play in the wild west of Sydney, and we're back, baby!
Yeah!
Whoa, hey, you alright there, Calvin?
Yeah, whoa, that went on for a lot longer than I expected it to be. How long has it been?
I believe it's been since the 1st of May. I think that was our last episode, 91.
And where are we now? What time zone? What? Oh God, it's July. It's been 2 months. Not bad.
Oh yeah, that's not too
Not
bad. A lot
bad.
has happened though in both our lives.
Yes. And I think it's worth an update. Do you want to go first?
Well, sure. Okay, my update is not as crazy or different as yours, but I moved to another suburb. That's pretty much it.
And you're
Yeah.
back in ADSL, which I think is sad news. Sad news.
Yeah, we'll see how this is going to turn out because we're actually not recording in the Laser Couch studios anymore.
No.
That is now our office space, I heard.
Yeah. What about that? Hey, that place. We're gonna miss it.
No, I'm going to miss that little pad.
Yeah.
Yes, but over in Gladesville, which is not too bad, like along Victoria Road, I have an Aldi downstairs, Kelvin.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that
yeah.
place. I love that place.
I look out for the weekly brochures. It's one of the things that I enjoy now.
I feel like you could do an entire podcast just on the weekly specials on Aldi. I think you should do it.
There probably is a podcast. I reckon the Aldi cast.
The Aldcast. No,
Yeah.
you must do it in German. Yeah, no. Cool. So what's happened with me? I didn't move, but I got a baby. So yeah, hashtag dad
You're a
life.
father now, Kelvin? You're a
I'm
father?
a father. Yeah, no, it's been a crazy 2 months. We obviously had to shift things around a bit. When I say we, I mean me and you. So we're now trying something called Zencaster, which lets you record over the internets. And so far, so good. I'm still running Audacity as backup just in case, because I'm paranoid like that. But the quality's been good. We did a quick test. And you know what? I think it gives us a lot more flexibility if we do choose to have guests who are crazy enough to jump aboard.
That's right. And I'm also, not only are we using Zencaster, but I am actually in VR recording this.
Yeah, because you know why? Because Jeff. That's why. So
right.
do you want to explain what the hell you're doing?
So if you're lucky enough, if you're the lucky 2 or 3 that watched the video just now on Facebook, we were just testing out, and we're going to talk about a lot of that in this episode. But I am wearing a headset on my head, because that's where it goes. And I'm looking at my desktop just because I didn't want to make noises through the mouse clicks. That's a thing. That's right. How do other people get away with this? Are they all on VR? I don't think so.
No, it'll probably be touchpads or some sort of funky noise gate or some producer who is going through every bit of audio through the podcast and trying to delete the clicks.
Yes, that's just some magic mumbo jumbo there that I don't know much about. But this is working. I think so far we haven't gone down yet. Although I've heard a little bit of lag just now and then. But hopefully it's all good through post production.
Yeah, and I think the dream is for you and I to record on Facebook Spaces. I think that's going to be reality soon. So, are we still going to be a podcast or a Vercast, which I'm going to trademark?
The Vercast. How do you spell that, Vercast?
Well, exactly how I said it. VR cast.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a thing. I was a bit apprehensive about buying the Oculus Rift, but I'm going to save all that stuff for the episode.
All right. So I think that covers our sort of personal updates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've had a baby.
I've had a baby.
You're a father. And I'm in a new place, and we don't have a studio. But we'll see how it goes, and we're now in VR as well. So episode 92, this is all about VR. We've been both trialing this quite a bit the last, I would say 3 weeks. I believe that's when you got yours 3 weeks ago. Is that right, Kelvin?
Yeah, it took me a while because to set it up because baby. You're going to hear that a lot throughout the episode. Yeah, but I'm fully into it now. You've obviously been on it for a lot longer than I have.
So we're going to take you through what it's really like in VR. Now that there's two of us in VR, and the whole exciting world of VR is just like on our doorsteps now. We can talk about it. It's not a lonely experience for me now, so I'm very excited myself to talk about it actually. So let's go ahead.
All right. So number one, let's talk about the hardware now. What made me buy the Oculus Rift? I think one was the price. So the Oculus Rift that you can buy now is currently on special. It sells for $449 USD. And you get a lot with that. You get the original Rift and Touch bundle, which used to be 800 USD, I believe, or 899. In that package,
That was just the Rift. Yeah, that was just the Rift actually. So you had to
Nice.
pay another 99 on top of that for the Touch.
That's right. So as part of the original Rift package, you get the headset, the One sensor, the remote control, and the Xbox One controller.
That's right. Yeah, for 799.
So when you first got it, did you try just having one sensor and playing it with the Xbox controller? What was that like?
I had no. I think no. It came with two sensors. I mean
it
the
came with
cameras,
two.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does come with two sensors,
Okay.
so that was fine. But I started off with the remote and the Xbox controller only, which meant that I could point and click things, but I couldn't use my hands at all, which was very frustrating. So it wasn't until I got the touch controllers about a month later, where it sort of like fully came to life for me.
And yeah, I mean, it's obviously down to a much more affordable price now. And it's quite funny. So you and I, we have this chat group going with a bunch of other geeks where we talk about these things. And I think buying this was quite a contentious topic in that group. So obviously buying the headgear, the sensors is not enough. You need a computer. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of going down the route that we have. Thankfully, you and I, more so you haven't updated a computer quite recently, but mine is holding up. But I know it's putting a lot of strain on my CPU, which I don't see very often with anything else. So VR is obviously doing a lot of that stuff via the CPU.
That's right. CPU and also the GPU, and there was a lot of contentious talk about getting the right one. I believe one of our members in that group is kind of lagging behind. If you get my drift,
I do.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why the GPU is so hard to get these days, Kelvin?
Okay. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's called ethereal currency. It's a kind of cryptocurrency. Ethereum, that's right.
Yeah.
Ethereum. It's kind of a cryptocurrency similar to Bitcoin that has just come out of nowhere. And we're not going to go into the whole Bitcoin thing, but to get Bitcoin, you need to mine it. To mine it, you need a powerful computer that has very strong GPU cores. Hence why all these farmers who are mining the Bitcoin or Ethereum have just smashed the market and just bought everything they can get their hands on in terms of graphics cards. So the prices are now insane.
That's right, almost doubled in price, I believe. Back in December when I decided to get the Oculus Rift and plus a new PC, I mean, I had to invest, I think overall about 2K in the end, but GPU was, what did I get? The 1060? I think you got one at the same time as well.
Yeah, so you and I have the same one. It's the 1060, I believe it's some gigabit. We got the 6 gig version because you need a lot of VRAM for VR. And it cost us something like $369 or something like that, or $339, somewhere around that range. So it wasn't, too bad at all.
And now they're selling for, I think, at least 600 or something.
Yeah, like it's still like the fact that the prices for our 1060 hasn't dropped at all since you got your PC is testament to that. So yeah, it's a bit crazy right now. You might have to wait a little bit for the next sort of generation or the next 2018 graphics cards from AMD and Nvidia. I would definitely wait out for that because just let the prices settle a little bit.
Yeah, and going back to the Oculus Rift prices, so it started at $799 or what is that, $898 if you pretty much 900, right? If you wanted to get the bundle from the beginning. Now it's come down to $450 together, so that's that is half price, isn't it? Since the beginning. So and the Oculus guys have been heard saying that eventually they want it to be free altogether. This is true.
That's
so they want
nuts.
to, follow the Amazon model of, just getting the devices out there and relying on the App Store to make a profit. So I think that's the way they're headed. It's unfortunate for the early adopters like myself. I mean, I got mine secondhand and got a pretty good deal. I think I paid 750 Australian dollars, which is not too bad.
No,
that's pretty much what you pay,
yeah,
right?
that's pretty much what we pay.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, if I was quite, because of the cost, I was quite apprehensive in the beginning, but you get a lot of free games with it. You get the Xbox controller, which I use for other games anyway. And I think most importantly, you get a whole new different experience, which, to be honest, hasn't really happened for us in the last decade or so, right? Can you think of a new medium you've tapped onto for $600 and you're like, wow, this is definitely going to change stuff? I guess the iPhone was, I think, the last big leap in technology like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
So, what? I saw you, being all lonely and all in VR, and I thought, what? It's time to give you some company.
I mean, going from, putting my headset on once a month to almost nightly has been a big sort of leap for me. Finding new stuff every day, and I think it's really ramping up towards the end of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, right, on to what you can do in the Oculus VR environment.
Yes. What can we do?
Yeah, so we split this up into a couple of sections, into, games you can play, the social networks that we've been on, and what you can do for work, which is always fun, and what's next, for VR. So let's kick it off with the games.
All right, so let's start with what you've been playing in terms of games, Kelvin, because we've talked about a few things in the past. What have you really enjoyed?
You know what? It's really quite funny because I have limited time now, but
that's true.
I've really enjoyed. I'm not sure. See, this sort of crosses in between the social aspect of it, which I found way more interesting than the games, believe it or not. I've totally enjoyed Rec Room. Obviously short for Recreation Room. You and I tried disc golf, which was so much fun.
It's like a frisbee mini golf type thing.
Yeah, and even when you and I and Dan jumped onto that first-person shooter,
that's right.
Such simple mechanics, but the complexity in trying to navigate a 3D world, just pointing and shooting and getting cover behind a wall is all so new and so different. And I love playing FPS games like Overwatch and all that. So I had so much fun with Rec Room.
Yeah, I guess it's a different perspective though, because you're in actually 3D environment, and I guess in terms of movement, it's a little bit limited because you're teleporting all the time. But yeah, I could see how you can enjoy those FPS games. Now the Robo Recall and Dead and Buried, which I've got top of the list here, that they come bundled free with all the devices that you buy currently. So Robo Recall, we've talked about it before, and it's only a one-player game, so it's really I don't know, it's really crisp in the way you move and you shoot, and everything's very precise. Even the sound design is awesome. Did you get to play that at all since you got
the only time I played it was at your house, actually.
Okay, yeah.
But no, I totally agree. Like, comparing Dead and Buried and Robo Recall, you can tell, like, even at the early stages of what Robo Recall did was so polished. Even Dead and Buried doesn't quite have that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think what I'm finding, especially with all these games and apps, is that certain decisions had to be made by the developers in terms of what they're going to focus on. So, Robo Recall is all about that snappiness when you shoot. Everything is precise. You really line things up when you shoot, whatever weapon that you have. Dead and Buried is, there's a little bit more leeway, I think, and it's more about standing still and hiding behind objects to sort of shoot around things, but it's also multiplayer, so I think they concentrated on that as well.
Yeah, and that's the one limitation you're going to get with any first-person shooter game in VR: the movement. We spoke about this in the past. Teleporting is one way of doing it, or something a bit more linear like Dead and Buried, where it's more of a Texas sort of shoot 'em up type game where you're hiding behind cover and sticking your head out and things like that.
Yeah, it's a bit like Time Crisis. Time Crisis.
Yes, Time Crisis. Of course.
Yeah,
with the stupid
because like
pedal.
even the reload mechanic is I thought it was
That's
similar.
right. That's right.
Um,
That's a really good example that people will be familiar with.
that's right. Another game I want to mention is Arizona Sunshine, which is not free. It was at some point, but I sort of missed out on that deal. Is about zombies here, and it's won tons of awards, Kelvin.
Mm.
It's I don't know if you've played that one, but it is multiplayer. So I have played with Dan the man. If you're listening, shout out Dan. It's very good actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Robo Recall, not as high fidelity, but you have another person that you can shit around with,
Yeah.
which is I think great.
Would you say is it more similar to Robo Recall or Dead and Buried?
It's sort of somewhere in between because you don't have to move around as much.
Mm.
In Robo Recall, it relies on you to teleport all the time because you're getting hit from all directions. Dead and Buried, Arizona Sunshine, the zombie game. Usually, it's sort of all the zombies are coming from one direction, so you can kind of see where they're going, but it doesn't stop you from wanting to turn around because you're just kind of scared that there are zombies behind you. But more or less, at least in the earlier levels, which is what we're up to, they come from one direction, so yeah, you can almost stay stationary. You can move around a little bit, but yeah, I think it's sort of somewhere in between.
Yeah, because when you and I were playing Dead and Buried, there was a mode called the Horde mode, where we were in this house and you get all these zombies coming from all the different directions. Like that was scary stuff because even as amazing as the 5.1 channel sound is in the Oculus, I couldn't really tell if people were coming my left or my right. It's not there yet.
I think they could probably polish that up because the sound is great, the 360 sound, because if I happen to be standing to your left, then you're going to hear me on your left channel. It does things pretty well like that. I think in that particular game though, maybe there's just too much happening and you can't really pinpoint the sound. Maybe, I'm not sure. But those games are great if you're like into that sort of FPS sort of games. Rec Room has it's a bit of a, I don't know, everything in one, right? You got sort of the casual sort of frisbee throwing games to something like Rocket League where you're literally the car and hitting a ball.
Yeah. Which I lost. It's like 6-0 to you or something. I don't want to talk about it.
Yes, we should do a recording of that one day. But there's a bunch of games. We'll probably, as we go along, we'll talk about more of them as we find out about them. But there's one game that you wanted to talk about that you want to play.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, one of my favorite games was Mech Warrior, obviously. Totally loved the game. And that was one of my, sort of my dream games in VR. And I found one. It's called Landfall. It was actually free to play this weekend, but I just didn't have time to do it. It looks pretty amazing. You jump into huge mechs and stuff. So I can't wait to see what the reviews are like. I haven't really done much research into it. It's just that the only one I could find with mechs in it. And I think that's such an amazing concept.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes for you to enjoy. The next category we want to cover is social, and we've done a lot in social, haven't we?
Yeah, and you know what? I think that is such a big thing for VR. It kind of makes me wonder why old sort of social VR world or social worlds like I'm trying to think of that name. IBM did it. Second Life.
Oh yes. Okay.
Why do you think Second Life failed, and why do you think this is going to be different?
I guess you were sort of disconnected, I should say, from your experience, because in VR, like you're, in the first person, whereas Second Life, I think you're still.
That's right.
The third person, is it? Yeah, third person, sort of walking around. So there's that disconnect. It is actually, I mean, when you just hear that, if you haven't experienced it, like it's sort of. It feels like a flippant thing that you can say, but it really makes a difference when you're the person, and you look around and you experience the world in just like reality, and I think it makes a huge difference, and that immersion is so key here.
Yeah, even the little interactions, like I can high five you in Facebook Spaces, which is the first.
We try to high five, yes.
Yeah. And this only became a bit more apparent in this update, the latest update to Facebook Spaces. We'll have to look into whether they did anything, but it's become harder to high five, and I'm wondering whether that's because of virtual sexual harassment.
Oh, right, yes. Okay, so this is probably something we should cover, because Rec Room has definitely a social element. You got that, they call it the change room.
What?
I don't know what that is. That's cover the change room, right? No, it's a big room. So you start in your dormitory, and then you go out to the big world, and there's everyone. Like there's Germans, there's Chinese, there's anyone from anywhere who's got an Oculus Rift, and at any given time, like they'll just come up to you and they can almost harass you. And Rec Room, I think they've done pretty well in terms of that social interaction. What the norm should be. Like if you come in, if someone is harassing you in front of you, then you can actually just, I think you can block your ears, or you can mute them somehow. It's like a very quick way to mute that person. Yeah. So it's almost like that Black Mirror episode when you can almost rub a person out in front of you, right? You've seen that episode, right? I think it's season 2. Yeah. It's almost like that. There's that Black Mirror sort of analogy again. But I think we're going to get there eventually.
Yeah. So let's quickly talk about Facebook Spaces. Facebook obviously bought Oculus a couple of years ago, and they developed this thing called Spaces where you can do stuff with your Facebook friends in virtual environments. Mm-hmm. You and I just jumped on a couple of minutes ago, so check out our Facebook page for those videos. It's getting better and better, but it's still lacking a bit of polish.
Yeah, I would say it's probably like a 0.6 at the moment. I think they're probably a few months away to make it a 1.0 update. I have noticed that they do update several times a week.
Nuts.
They force updates. So, it's a thing. It's going to be more popular. They're going to have more users. We should somehow try to get onto that beta group to give feedback somehow. I think it might be worthwhile. So we're going to be doing a lot more stuff. You can do some crazy things like, I don't know, what's the best thing? You can draw something and then wear that as a hat.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit silly.
But also I think, as we were watching the intro to Dunkirk in 3D. I think that's going to be a huge thing in Facebook, right? I mean, sharing media types in that environment is kind of cool, right? We're almost in it.
It is a bit of a leap for them though, because when we experience Facebook, I don't know about you, but you're doing it on your own, right? Like you're just going through the feed on your phone or your laptop or something. You could be at a friend's place and you could sort of see it together, but I think that's a rare case. So for Zuckerberg to say, hey, if you're going to experience Facebook, you should do it together, sharing videos and photos together. I think that's a bit of a leap still. But if the experience is good, people will come, right?
Yeah, no, and as Oculus, gets more and more affordable, I don't see why not. This is the new norm.
Speaking of Oculus, well, we've been talking about Oculus this whole time, but the creator of Oculus Rift is Palmer Luckey, and we've covered him a few times. He has since left the company due to certain things he said, or maybe support for certain politicians. He's kind of forced out, you can say. Now he's been in the news just this week because there's another social VR app called Altspace, as in ALT space. Just announced that they're gonna sort of pack up and they've run out of money and they can't support that anymore. So Palmer Luckey just this week tweeted out that, or he did one of these polls on Twitter to say, hey, should I save Altspace?
Yeah. And I'm just looking at the Twitter feed right now. So Altspace hired 37 employees to do this. So that's a lot of people. And you and I had to go to Altspace, and it's a weird one. You can actually just walk around using your left joystick. So instead of teleporting, you can walk around, and that made me so sick. And we also had some really creepy, encounters in Altspace where you can... So as you walk past people in VR, you can hear their conversations, just like in the real world. And yeah, some of that stuff was pretty creepy. And it's nowhere near as polished as Rec Room. We tried some of the games, and it was just difficult to get around.
You're right. So it probably doesn't have the resources or the backing like, Facebook Spaces. But I think that there is a bit of a, from what I can see or gather is that there is a bit of a user base there. And just because Altspace was sort of the original social app in VR in Oculus anyway, even on Steam, the Steam platform. And I think this is the first one where Steam users can actually join in with Oculus users as well. A lot of apps are doing that now, like Rec Room, but so there is a lot of love for this app, so it's a bit sad that it's going. I don't know, maybe you can say with some additional funding that maybe they can make it a lot better. I mean, because the idea was great. I mean, I think they came out with this before they discovered that moving, or the problem of locomotion is vomit inducing. That before that was a thing.
Yeah. And talking
Yeah.
about love, I'm just looking at the Twitter thread again. This guy is saying, please save Altspace VR because I met my fiance in the game. We got engaged in there as well.
Wow. Well,
See,
I mean,
this is exactly what we were just saying. Like,
yeah.
that's just nuts. So, are they living together as a married couple, or are they married in VR? I don't know. And there, obviously, this is unsubstantiated, but they're saying that there's about 17,000 people a month in Altspace. And yeah, let's not get into the whole active user thing. And that just isn't enough, to be honest.
Sure. I mean, it's not making any money, and if you're a VC, you're not going to support that, right? So, these sort of things, it's unfortunate, but some apps do have to pay for this, the lack of usership. I'm not sure if with the advent of the cheaper Oculus Rifts, if this helped at all, but maybe it was too little, too late.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think this is going to happen? You think Palmer's going to do it?
He did sort of have a caveat, didn't he? In his tweet, he said, his exact tweet was, "Should I try to save Altspace VR? In brackets, caveat, may not be possible."
Yeah, so let's have a look at the vote. 5,000 people have voted. There's 5 days left, so you won't know the end of the poll yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but if you do vote, you get to see what it's up to currently.
Really?
It's
okay.
66%.
I'm going to say yes, you should try and save. 66% yes, 34% no.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think you got to sort of take that with a bit of grain of salt, but I would say it's less than 50% chance at the moment.
Yeah,
that he's going to do it. Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of cash. I think his exit was something like 250 million. So we'll talk about another app shortly. They just got funded $3 million recently, and that was quite a big piece of funding. So does it take $1 million to save this company? I don't know. Well, what would it take? What would it take?
37 people. Is $1 million even enough to cover their wages? That is some pretty crazy stuff.
You could downscale a little bit as well. Just maybe take it down to 15 people. I mean, 37 sounds like a lot for a user base of 17,000.
Yeah, but remember when we went into Altspace VR, they had a front concierge desk. Is there someone manning that 24/7? Anyway.
Okay, so were there any other social apps that we tried?
No, I think those are the two sort of most topical ones right now. I'm really impressed with Rec Room, Facebook Spaces, Altspace, not so much.
All right, so moving on to the next category, we're going to talk work stuff. I mean, it's work and also non-work, but I guess for this purpose, we'll stick with our work. Yeah. The big one we wanted to talk about was big screen VR. That's the one that just got $3 million funding from Andreessen Horowitz. So they pretty much funded Facebook in the first place. So I think we've tried. Well, actually, I'm in it right now, to be honest. But in the past week or so, we have tried it a little bit. Did you like that?
Yeah, no, I was super impressed. I was trying to get my desktop to work on Facebook Spaces, and that wouldn't. I think it's a lot more polished. That's for sure.
Yeah, so it is a multi thing. When we try to set up a private room, it kind of crashed a little bit, but we couldn't get that to work, so we created a public room and some other people joined, and they were doing some things like trying to do Photoshop inside VR. That was interesting. I mean, you can, it's hard to describe, but I've literally got a massive screen. So imagine like a cinema size screen in VR in front of me. I've got my desktop screen open, and I'm just reading through the article that I picked out for the $3 million funding. So I'm just reading that right now as we speak.
Yeah, and you and I also went into the smaller screen aspect of big screen, which is sitting beside each other and doing some work. And because we couldn't start a private room, it was so buggy, it kept crashing. We had to open up the room, and all these weird people started coming in, and some people were doing Photoshop, some people were doing movies. It's nuts.
Yeah, so I think in terms of work, I like that you can point to each other's desktops. That's probably the best thing about it in terms of collaboration. You can, I think, you can do markups as well. I think and the only thing is it's like very much a sit down experience. Like if you wanted to walk around and point at things and manipulate things in 3D, it's not quite there just yet. But probably I would say that they're working on that right now.
No, it's definitely very impressive. Like the audio was clear, like the desktop usage was amazing. So it's definitely a workable solution, and that's creepy. Like how close we are to actually being able to do actual work in that environment.
Yeah. So I mean, just using my personal work situation at the moment, we're very much going to a distributed work environment, which means we're going to have colleagues overseas. And to work together, it is a challenge to set up that video conferencing and just the time difference issues, all sorts of stuff. I think I genuinely want to recommend that we use VR because.
Do you think you could spend 8 hours in VR?
Well, I don't think you'd be on there the full day, but maybe just for certain meetings, we're very much an agile environment, so maybe a stand-up where you can actually share a big screen, like literally share a screen on big screen. It could be certain stories that you want to point out, because at the moment the problem is we're just not sharing that information that we have in our heads, and what better way is there to actually show it on a screen? So I'm sort of thinking about it. So it's not a real thing yet, but investment wise, I don't think it's too much.
And you know what? If you were to use Gear VR, it's a lot more manageable.
True. Yes. And that's probably more acceptable in a work environment when you're sort of in a meeting room or something like that.
Yeah, but still, sticking a phone in your face is going to be the new norm.
Hey, I wouldn't laugh about that, actually.
Everyone take note. Episode 92, Kelvin laughed at sticking your phone to your face when it becomes a new norm.
In 2027. Yeah.
Cool. The other quick call out I had was a project called DataVis. You and I, we go through a fair amount of data. We're no data scientists, but we look at a lot of web data. What if you could translate that data into 3D models that you could walk around? So that's what the guys at DataVis are trying to do. I haven't tried it yet, but the concept itself for work is pretty fascinating. Right? I mean, we're so limited by the 2D space when it comes to trying to explain a trend or, a comparison. Think about how you could do that in 3D. Like, you could do 3-dimensional model processing. So you could, not only do length and height, you could now do width. So that's pretty amazing. Like, you could actually compare so many other variables now just because your reality is now in 3D. And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that's cool. As you're speaking there, I'm trying to apply for this closed beta, it's one thing to sort of see it on a spreadsheet or a presentation, but to truly feel it in a 3D, like walk around in it, like you said, I think that's a whole new kettle of fish. Is that the right saying? Probably not. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. Kettle of fish? Okay,
I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing.
It's a thing now. This is cool. This is I think as we come across more things like this, we'll definitely share it. If you're if you know of any more tools like this, please send us our way. Where can they do that, Kelvin?
So
I can't remember anymore. It's been too long.
Yeah, so that is it for episode 92. We're probably, in terms of what's next in the world of VR, you definitely want to check out the Oculus event called Connect 4 happening in San Jose, running from October 11 to 12. We'll definitely be covering it because we're like the biggest fanboys right now of Oculus. So I'm hoping they give you the opportunity to attend that as in VR. That would be so cool. And then we can zoom around and speak to people and record that. That would be super exciting. So mark down your calendar for that. If you don't want to mark down your calendar, you can just check us out on the website. It's at www.thelazycouch.com. You can also join us on our Facebook chat room at www.thelazycouch.com/chatroom. You can also email us at thelazycouchpodcast@gmail.com. Catch us on Twitter at The Lazy Couch, or just search for us on Facebook and Instagram. Definitely do Facebook because we're now doing VR videos.
Wow, very impressive, Kelvin.
I know.
You didn't even read that. Wow, all from memory.
Yeah, and my brain is beating right now. So
wow, Okay, I'll let you sleep then.
Yeah.
So that was the episode. Send us a line. Join us again. We'll probably do this. We'll try to do it once every couple of weeks, maybe, pending your timeline, Kelvin. And Jeff out.
Kelvin. Oh God. I wanna apologize in advance. I'm gonna be really loud for some reason.
Oh.
I'm looking at my Audacity, whatever you call this thing, the track, and it's like hitting the top and coming back down. I didn't realize how close I was to the microphone.
It looks well on the what is this? Zencaster, it looks pretty even. Yeah. Alright, should I stop recording and
Yeah, can you stop in 3, 2, 1, 0?
Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0.